So Mayor Mamdani has said that he doesn't think that wealthy people and corporations would actually leave if their taxes go up. Do you disagree with that?
It's not a gamble I want to take because we're already down about $13 billion in revenues from people who did leave our state. And when asked, many of them do complain about the taxes in New York, something I'm trying to do something about.
What happens to you when the 911 operator doesn't pick up? Or when the fire truck turns the corner and realizes there's no water in the hydrant because the city didn't pay to fix the pipes? Right now, as you're re-sitting there, a trap is being set that is going to change your life in the 5 boroughs forever. It's a $21 billion nightmare, and Mayor Mamdani just signed the paperwork to start the great sell-off. He's calling it Executive Order 12, but let's be real, it's a death warrant for the New York, you know. Stick with me because I'm about to show you the hit list he just signed off on today, February 3rd, and why he's desperately trying to blame a dead man for what's about to happen to your neighborhood. Next stop, the Mamdani Zone. If you will, the ultimate performance in a city of 8 million extras. Meet the actor of Astoria, man who spent his life behind a camera lens before he decided to step in front of it to play the role of a socialist savior. But look closely at the costume. Underneath that thrift store aesthetic is a Nepo baby born into the kind of globalist luxury that the rest of us only see in the movies. He didn't climb the ladder. He was lowered down from the penthouse on a golden thread. He calls for a revolution while living in a $2 million Manhattan sanctuary, watching the very people he claims to protect freeze to death in the shadows of his own high rise.
That's right, we know about your mom. Now listen, we was with you, Zohran. We voted for you, Zohran. We advocated for you, Zohran. We advocated for you. You ain't getting up and get up in there and lie to us. You lied, Zohran. Shame, Zohran.
Shame! Shame!
The first lie was CCRB, Zohran.
Shame!
CCRB had the final say, Zohran.
Shame!
He isn't a leader. He's a filmmaker directing a tragedy where New York City is the set and your tax dollars are the catering budget. To understand the Mamdani Zone, you have to look at the roots. He speaks of equity from a childhood spent in the high society circles of Uganda, a prince playing at being a pauper. But the real rot starts with the guest lists. His mother, Mira Nair, wasn't just making films. She was moving in the same rarefied air as the world's most infamous island dwellers. While the internet scours the archives of the Epstein era, they find the names of the very elite that Mamdani now pretends to hunt. It is the ultimate grifter man using the language of the working class to protect the legacy of the globalists who built his family's throne.
This is your issue. It's a national issue, not a local issue.
The issue is affordability. Do you know how many working families are chased out of New York City every day because they can't afford housing, they can't afford groceries, they can't afford child care? What Zohran is saying is, I want people to be able to afford to live in New York City. That's what keeps it a vibrant city. That's what makes people want to live
Nobody
here.
disagrees with that, Senator, but raising taxes in order to do it?
Oh,
why
my
is that
goodness.
the answer?
Oh, dear. Are you worried that billionaires are going to go hungry?
No, I'm worried that they're going to leave and spend their money elsewhere.
You know, they've threatened to do that over and over and over.
And they have. They've
But
left.
He isn't trying to tax the rich. He's trying to ensure that only his kind of rich are left standing. The DOGE of New York City and the 45-day clock. This isn't just a standard budget memo. This is Mayor Mamdani officially activating the big squeeze while trying to call it public excellence.
And so that is something that I'm actually here to speak to you today about also, is the creation of savings officers within every single agency that will be tasked with assessing the efficacy of programs we have, the efficiencies that we currently have or are being denied, and what steps we need to take to make the kinds of changes to bring us back to a firm financial.
And you want that done yesterday, so you have an executive order that you're calling all city agencies to do right now and implementing and appointing these chief savings officers.
Yes, and that's actually the executive order that I have with me right here. This is a directive that within 5 days, every single agency head has to identify a chief savings officer, and then within 45 days, those officers have to come back to us with a full assessment of the savings that could be pursued, the efficiencies that we're currently seeing, and the programs that frankly need to be sunsetted or are not effective.
He's essentially creating his own internal version of a Department of Government Efficiency. Every single city agency was given a deadline of today, February 3rd, 2026, to appoint a senior staffer as their Chief Savings Officer CSO. By the end of this very day, every agency head must have a name submitted to the budget director. These CSOs have exactly 45 days to perform a surgical audit of their agency's spending. This isn't about finding loose change. It's about finding what they can rip away from you first. The war on black women's excellence. This is where it gets personal. Section 2C of this order mentions what he termed insourcing. That sounds like boring paperwork, but let me tell you who it actually targets. Our black women entrepreneurs. New York City's MWBE program was supposed to be the great equalizer, giving black-owned businesses a seat at the table. But now Mamdani's savings officers are coming to rip those contracts away. They are targeting the very cleaning tech and catering firms owned by black women who fought for years to build a legacy in this city. He's taking the bread out of their mouths to feed a bloated government machine. He talks about equity, but his first move is to cancel the contracts of the most vulnerable and successful minority business owners in the 5 boroughs. It's a cold-blooded betrayal of the very people who built this city's resilience. The CSOs aren't just looking for waste. They are hunting your neighborhood essentials. They have a 3-point mission. First, they target the top 5, examining the 5 most expensive programs in every agency to find efficiency opportunities. Translation: they're looking at your schools, your police, and your sanitation. Second, they are there to kill the redundancy. Finally, they are tasked to sunset the failures, terminating any program they deem not effective.
Okay, so go ahead, put your John Hancock on that. And that will become officially an executive order as of this moment, right?
Yes, this is now an executive order, the first to be signed on Pix 11.
There we go. So let me ask you what exactly that means. The previous administration, Eric Adams, he cut from city agencies. For example, libraries were cut, right? Are you expecting agencies to look at some of these things and implement cuts, and how soon?
I think what we're first talking about are efficiencies and savings. We're talking about the things that we could be doing better.
But is that semantics?
Cuts, no, I would say cuts are a matter of last resort. Right? We do not want to be cutting the services that New Yorkers are relying on. If the state does not change its relationship to the city, if it does not raise taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers or the most profitable corporations, then all it leaves the city with are the most painful tools. However, we want to do everything we can to ensure that those are not the tools we have to use.
But cuts could be on the table as a last resort.
That is what we are left with if we are not able to change these relationships. That's why we're pursuing the relationship.
You talked a lot about Eric Adams and former governor.
To show he's serious, Mamdani already killed an Adams era AI chatbot that cost $500,000, calling it useless. That was just the bait. The real sunset is coming for your local parks and senior centers. Florida encouragement, the irony. And here is the ultimate twist, the irony that should wake every New Yorker up. While Mamdani stands at the podium demanding a 17% tax rate, he is practically acting as a high-priced travel agent for the wealthy. He is encouraging the tax base to move to Florida. He tells the millionaires and the restaurant icons to go find their less taxed utopia in Miami or West Palm Beach. It's a wake-up call served with a side of encouragement. He wants the producers gone so they can be happy elsewhere, leaving behind a city that he can turn into a closed-shop government lab. He is literally persuading the people who pay for our subways and schools to take their money and flee. It is the ultimate middle finger to New York, telling the people who fund us to go fund Florida instead. the 12 billion atoms trap. Mamdani is using this order as a weapon against the former administration to hide his own failure. He claims he looked under the hood and found a $12.6 billion shortfall that was hidden through negligent budgeting by Eric Adams.
Zohran Mamdani announced that once he takes office on January 1st, he'll stop sweeping homeless encampments across our city. I won't criticize him on every issue, but when a policy harms New Yorkers, I have to speak up. Showing compassion for those sleeping on the streets is not a sweep. It is humane. Ending this action will create a quality of life nightmare. Just look at cities that allow encampments and you'll see the damage. Worse, leaving people to suffer in the cold isn't just neglectful, it's a disgrace.
He alleges Adams underestimated expenses for shelters, special education, and social welfare by $7 billion. This is the Adams trap. By appointing these CSOs, now he can claim that any upcoming painful cuts to libraries or parks are forced upon him by the poisoned chalice he inherited.
I'm up against the clock here, but yesterday you mentioned an AI chatbot that cost $500,000 as one of the things you thought was a waste of money. Can you name something else?
That's exactly what this directive is about. What we want is to actually come to a number after looking at the budget, because what we're seeing, we're talking about a budget of more than $115 billion, right? If I'm going to accuse the prior mayor of gross fiscal mismanagement in the budgeting process, we know that that likely extends to the expense side as well. And so we're going to look through every agency to find every example, because when we're going to ask New Yorkers to commit themselves to a new era of politics, we have to commit ourselves to. That's what this is about.
If the governor comes out
These officers don't report to the public. They report directly to the first deputy mayor behind closed doors. And this isn't a one-time thing. They have to perform these audits every 6 months. The final sunset. So what is that one service I told you was first on the list? It's sanitation. Under Section 2D of his new order, they are already looking at slashing street cleaning by 40% in the outer boroughs to save the revenue. He's turning the city into a dumpster to pay for his socialist dreams. The Mamdani zone isn't a utopia. It's a graveyard for the middle class and a frozen wasteland for the vulnerable. He will keep making the videos, and he will keep promising the impossible while the productive class vanishes into the Florida sun. You are watching the ultimate experiment in failure, where the price of admission is the future of the greatest city on earth. Next stop, the Mamdani zone.